Hi, I'm Jale. Welcome to my channel. This is going to be a reading on the current state of pretty much everything. The riots in America, the situation with George Floyd, the ongoing looting, and what that means, and what Spirit want to communicate in relation to this. So, again, please, if you have any strong opinions that are totally contradictory to what I'm saying, you have a right to do that. But I'm not going to sit and debate that in comments. This is what I'm channeling. If you do not resonate with it, then I don't know what you want me to say, but this is what I'm getting through. Okay, so this is the thing. I was trying to avoid doing this video, and I've been trying to avoid doing all the videos that are political. The main reason being is because this is part of a larger agenda, okay? Now, you might be sat there thinking, well, how on earth is George Floyd being murdered a political thing? Very much so. The mainstream media are in charge of what we are being exposed to. They are owned by the establishment, an elite group of people, and what they report is not necessarily fact. It's usually biased based on who is backing them financially. What this all means is we're currently driving towards a very strong shift in general on this planet. Now, in order for that shift to go through, there is obviously a very large, openly corrupt system that we are currently residing in. I mean, people that obviously have little to no awareness or kind of get involved in that are probably not going to understand what I'm talking about, but those who have been exposed to this kind of thing are probably going to be aware. So the situation is, in the 12th of December 2019, the UK had an election in order to essentially vote regarding Brexit, but also the political party that would be sustaining power in the UK. Now, the Conservatives won, Boris Johnson was voted in, and it pretty much solidified Brexit, okay? Fast forward, rewind a couple of months before that, there was an incident in London where there was a racist attack whereby a foreign national attacked people, and there was a group of people that obviously defended this person, the ground, and eventually police were called and this person was removed, and they were, I think, they lost their life. There was also other people, general public, that lost their lives as well. This was very spread, widestream media was very much kind of exposing this piece of news, and it had just happened to be right before the election that they wanted to sort of, again, for Brexit vote, wanted to expose. Now, that set a huge stage because it was, in my opinion, it was a setup. I mean, let's be realistic. Was this person responsible for killing someone? Yes. Unfortunately, disgustingly, unfortunately, yes, that energy was carried out, and people lost their lives, which is disgusting. Was that sold to the general public in order to vote on an idea of them versus us, divide and conquer, the oldest strategy in the book? Yes, in my opinion, yes. And did people fall for it? Yes. Did I sit on Facebook for weeks and days before that and during that to try and give people a heads up? Yes. So fast forward, we've got the elections in the United States in November, and suddenly you've got this hugely race, issue that's being brought to attention. Now, am I sitting here saying racism doesn't exist? No, I'm not saying that at all. Unfortunately, I've been on the receiving end of it for the whole of my life. I'm very aware that racism exists. To give you some insight, without going into my whole life story, I was born in Tottenham, London. I was in 2 riots. First of all, when I was age 4, I was in the Broadwater Farm riot, and my friend's house was firebombed. I was in my home at 4 years of age, hoping that I wouldn't die at 4. And then I was in the Tottenham riots again in 2011. Okay, so yeah, I then moved to a predominantly white area when I was 8, and I was one of a very select few people in my school that was, you know, of a different kind of lineage, let's say, and was that totally focused on yes. There was a lot of issues around schooling. I almost had to be escorted home by police on my GCSE English exam because there was threats made against me. So unfortunately I'm very aware of how racism works, not only in the UK, but I've got friends that are in America that unfortunately I've heard stories about, and it's absolutely horrific. We've got an issue here because they're utilising something that causes a great amount of pain to provoke reactions based on that, to divide people. Okay, this is, in my opinion, what's currently going on in America. I believe that the certain riots are being started by paid people. That's my insight into it. I believe that is being sparked to create further division for a further agenda, because it's political. It's a political agenda. They want Biden in. This is what they're trying to do. They actually do want Biden to occupy the White House, and they tell me that that will happen in November. Okay, is there a chance that people can vote the opposite way? They're saying yes, but unlikely, because the agenda's been set. Okay, Trump and the QAnon movement, you're not going to hear much of that. There's going to be a very strong focus on COVID-19 and how Trump didn't do his part. Now, is COVID-19 part of this whole political thing? Yes. Yes. Is there an illness that is causing some issues? There was, but it was designed to target a very specific individual, as per my previous video. Is this being hyped up in order to create fear and confusion and illusion, and to make people... It's a psyop. It's a psyop. It is designed to break people down so that people will trust what they're being told, because you got to remember, this is how our society has worked for millennia, where the system, people would rely on that system to be provided with information, and if that information is false, then people would just blindly lead it. It's why the Matrix films were essentially created. It's, we're in the Matrix. It's very real. Are we shifting out of that? Yes, but before that happens, the corrupt systems are falling, which is what we're beginning to see that now. Is this going to happen overnight? No. The next 2 to 3 years, this is going to start crumbling down. We're starting to see that now. Now, think of it like a slingshot. We're being pulled back a little bit in order to be propelled forward. There's a giant quantum leap that will be coming up. This agenda that they have is, you guys, if you're in America, please reach out to everyone that you feel is possibly going to be affected by this. And please try and do what you can to band together, because you guys outnumber the government. They don't want uprising. You've got to remember, there is an ascension going on here, a spiritual ascension, and people are becoming very awake to what the situation is, to what the current system is providing and what it isn't providing. And in order to suppress that, there is a battle going on. Okay, the battle has been continuing for a while up here. Okay, but it's now being carried out on the physical plane. Okay. And what that means is that there are definitely a select group of people who do not want certain people to become liberated, because then it means that their grip on power is no longer valid. So this is what you're starting to see at the moment. Now, the end game here is that eventually, this is what they want. I'll go on to sort of discuss what I think will happen. But this is their aim. They want Biden in the White House, and Biden is backed by Israel. Now, am I promoting racism against Jewish people? Of course not. That's ridiculous. But I'm stating a fact. I'm stating what my guides are giving me. So again, we'll soon see if this is something that is coming to fruition. The next target will be Middle East. This is what this is leading up to. The masks in America, the UK don't have masks. The UK was never sold on masks, but the US were. And now suddenly we've got protesters that are their identities are covered. So I'm confused. Why do you guys implement the mask thing in the United States but not in the UK? Because to me it looks like this is deliberately designed to restrict people's identity, so people can't identify who is starting these riots and who aren't. Because again, people are becoming very switched on to this. Of course, Biden was in a press opportunity showing his support for these groups, these community groups, which of course he's going to do that because he's filling a gap that's been created by the media and the narrative here. But they are going to go over the Middle East. This is going to be, it's why Libya, I mean, the news that wasn't told was that Russia have now got jets and sort of stationed certain elements in Libya. Turkey have been practicing and exercising in Libya for a few months. It is obviously a country across from Israel, okay? The fact that, you know, England is leaving Brexit, you've got the European Union that are creating their own army, and then you've got Iran that is people are wanting to take over. So now you might be sitting there thinking, well, what about the Far East? Well, I've already discussed that in a video, which was that they've now taken care of that side of things in their opinion, especially China. That's what they think they have anyway. I'll go on to that in a minute. You're going to see a very strong pressure over the coming weeks and months. Now, don't forget, I just want to give you draw some attention between now and the 6th of June. Please be aware there is a lunar eclipse happening. I might do a separate video about the placements here. I might do a separate video on that, but there's a large build up of energy between now and the 6th of June. I just want you to be very careful, especially in the United States, around the areas that have been protesting. Be very vigilant. I want ideally everyone to question things. Okay, I'm not going to sit and incite violence, because that's not what I'm here to do, and I'm certainly not. I'm anti-violence, if anything. Now, do people have a right to express themselves? Yes, and if they're being ignored, then they certainly have a right to express their pain, of course. But I think we need to be very vigilant, because there's an agenda here that's I don't want to see people getting hurt and more pain, basically. So the agenda at the moment is the run up to November, which is the United States election. You're going to see, I'm just feeling like there's a lot of clashes, and I'll be honest with you, there's something, put it this way, you're going to notice the swing. Now, I don't know exactly how the votes are counted in the United States. I'm going to be very honest with you. Now, I know that there are swing areas. I want you to pay very close attention to those swing areas, and what I mean by that, maybe you don't use the terminology, but the areas that are very close to being taken over by Trump, or could be won by Trump, because those will be the key areas to look out for. I'm getting Virginia. There's something about Virginia here. It could be the fact that it's near Washington. There's something around this area that I feel a lot of disease here around that East Coast kind of placement here, or around that area. So, but just have a look into if your local area is a swing area, which maybe is if you're Biden led and your area is predominantly Biden backed, I think you'll be fine. But if it's Trump backed, please be vigilant. Now, this is the other thing I want to address. You've got Anonymous that are releasing information about Trump, and suddenly they've come out of the woodwork. I've told you before that I believe that QAnon was, goodness me, I keep seeing something out of the corner of my eye. Getting paranoid. It's a blooming insect that's coming through the window, and I'm sat here all paranoid. The Anonymous situation, now obviously I told you my opinion on QAnon. I believe that was controlled opposition. Were Anonymous at one point legit? Yes. Are they now? I kind of want to say no. I don't think they are. I think they've been compromised. There is a lot of information that is suddenly coming out about Trump via Anonymous. Why didn't we hear about this in 2016? You know what I mean? Because my view on it is that these political parties are here to do a certain job, and Trump's job was to be involved with COVID-19, and that the selling of that. Did he know everything? No. I think they limited the information they would give, and I'm talking about the establishment now, the deep state. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and mince my words. The actual real power, unfortunately, behind the world. Certain factions of that. I can feel eyes on me right now. Anyway. So I don't think they told him about everything. I think they told him about some elements of it, but he was here to drive through the COVID-19. He was also here to show confusion and promote that kind of lack of... First of all, he obviously was here to also look in and implement the North Korea situation, which I mentioned before. And if you didn't see that video, they've taken out Kim Jong-un and they've placed something that isn't him there. In order to take hold of China. That's their plan. Now, that was their plan. Like I said, it's all kind of certain... They bring people in for certain plans and agendas, and in my opinion, from what I'm getting, is Trump's being moved out now and Biden is up next, because he'll be selling the Middle East. I want you guys to look out between now and November in the United States for false flags. Just be very vigilant. Do I believe that there are people being paid that are definitely not protesting because they are against racism? I believe there are people being paid to try and incite and get people riled up, because it's an extraordinarily emotive subject. And this is the thing, there's a lot of pain, and I'm getting really fed up of people telling me that, because I posted something on Facebook about how the UK is racist, the United States is racist because of the UK, and it just triggered a million different people. And that's what happens when people take over land, and the land is born from extraordinarily painful circumstances, and then there's a lot of history behind that land that is also unfortunately having had very painful circumstances with the whole slave situation in the United States. Of course there's pain. People, you can't just generationally be like, oh, it's all solved now. Even let's say we eradicated racism, there's a prevalent energy here of oppression, and it has to be acknowledged, and it across the board, but specifically into this situation with black people. So we need to be very vigilant, and we need to unite, because I don't want to keep looking at the news and having people's hope removed, because this is actually a war on the mental. If they take hope, what do you have? All right. Now let me give you the flip side of this. Are they going to succeed in what they want to achieve? No, absolutely no. They're the players that are, if we're looking at it from a spiritual perspective now rather than just a physical, the reality we're in. So there are key players that have been placed on here to do essentially the polarizing opposite of what other people are here to do. Okay. Are they playing their role in order for this to sort of ascend from a 3-dimensional reality into a 5-dimensional reality? Absolutely, yes. Will there be implications based on people's actions? 100%, 1,000,000% karmic, the karmic implications are there. 100%. People's actions are being viewed and judged at this stage. 100%. Okay. They won't be able to get to the point where because what they're trying to do is they're trying to stop ascension, and where you've got the spirit. I mean, look, the reality here is that you've reached a pinnacle of where people are awakening, and people, the control elements of this planet are losing grip on people's minds and you know, their control, their lack of control. And so because of that, there's a fear that's being promoted, because that's the only way to sort of really lower vibrational energy. And so we have a responsibility to promote truth, because it's not just about pretending it doesn't exist, because to pretend it doesn't exist gives it power, and we're not into that game. Okay, what we're into is to provide the truth, so that there's some awareness and therefore some liberation in terms of what the reality is, and then we can move into our power. Okay, and what I mean by that is not, again, some misguided use of power that is you know, anti some factions and you being the winner. We're talking about, we are a collective, and so we want everyone to reach the top of their soul mission, why they're here. Between now and the next couple of years, that is inevitable. People are going to ascend. There is a mass awakening happening. People are becoming more and more aware and privy to the information. But at the moment, we have a very distinct lack of truth that's being promoted. So let's make some predictions here, because we want to sort of put this into context. Trump will be out and Biden will be up. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but there's been some recent developments in the news about a new supposed King of England. And actually I had predicted that information in a last video before. And apparently there's been someone called King John III that's been promoted as the new king, and there's something about his lineage that's been called into question. That's recently, if you look on YouTube and other areas, it's a QAnon promoted sort of line or news story. Now, this is the thing. The QAnon movement, I feel, again, it swings and roundabouts. I feel like Anonymous are going to kind of take centre stage. And this is the other thing as well. All these factions, Antifa, we need to, again, we have to question the, to believe in a certain body, you have to make sure that everyone in that body or that group is legit. And are there people in these groups that are legit? Yes. But are there also people in these groups who are totally the opposite? Yes. So just be very careful if you're aligning yourself to groups. Now, don't forget, we are in Gemini North Node, and there's going to be a lot of polarizing and he said, she said, and QAnon versus Anonymous, and this person versus this person. Try not to buy into that. If they are actively, you know, removing your, you know, your power, like for example, if there's racism prevalent, then obviously call it out, but try not to buy into that polarized swing. Like I mentioned before in a previous live, there's a kind of metronome energy here where it's like this rhythm bouncing between the, you know, dark and light, dark and light. This is going to balance itself out, but between now and then it is going to be very polarizing. It's going to be very extreme, because the next thing to come, which will be next year, is the aliens. They're unfortunately, they are going to start wheeling that kind of thing out as well. But it will be controlled by the government. Again, we'll go into that later because there's a lot more information coming up. But do aliens exist? Of course they do. You know, we're starseeds. The majority of people that do these kind of readings are starseeds, but they want that. It's all about controlled opposition. It's about providing. This is the government here and the establishment. A lot of them. It's about providing information, controlled opposition. So you provide 1% truth and 99% lies, so people can invest in that. It's the same with the Alex Jones situation. It's all an info wars. All it is different factions of the same BS that are just redesigned because people are becoming a bit more aware that this is total rubbish. Okay, now at some point that narrative's going to have to change because people aren't stupid, you know. But between now and then, you're going to get different factions. The focus here, from what Spirit are saying here, is that support, follow man, right? Will you stand for BS? Of course not. Call it out. Make it known. We need to get out of this whole whistle blowing. Oh my goodness, we shouldn't be. No, call it out. You know, if someone, for example, is being racist and they're in a job or a position of power, call it out 100%. Like, what on earth? I mean, that should be happening anyway. But I'm talking about these different factions that are promoting things. You might sit there and go, well, you're a different faction promoting something. Yeah, I'm promoting truth. This is why my job. I'm the balance. I'm the person, the metronome that's trying to recalibrate stuff, because this is part of my job, you know. So stick together, guys, because there's a lot more coming up now. Let's go to specific. I keep getting Virginia. Just be very careful between now and, I mean, look, this is the thing when it comes to Ascension. The timelines of things are very skewish. I want to say between now and June time, just be very aware. Between now and the sort of 21st of June, just be very alert and vigilant. Specifically, again, I'll update when we change, but because we're in Gemini season, we're in a heck of a strong kind of, we're in an energy of all the retrogrades, and we're about to have Mercury going to retrograde as well, which is about communication in Gemini. So there is going to be a lot of heat coming up. We've got we've got Psyche also conjunct to Uranus, which is here to bring, this is happening at the present moment, it's here to bring an awakening of the mental stage. Psyche being the butterfly, Psyche being truth, you know, it's like that kind of the soul. It's and Uranus being that kind of spark of rebellion. Uranus being that spark of rebellion. It's here to spark the truth. This conjunction that we're currently in, but also we've got Neptune and Mars that are about to conjunct each other over the weekend of the 6th, which is again intuition, and Mars is the action. So pay attention particularly around the 6th and the lead up to the 6th, 4th, 5th, 6th, for any activity that is off, and call it out. I think we need to get into a routine of that's the kind of message coming through, is just get into the routine of calling this out and backing it up with social media. Now, because Trump has utilised this social media executive order, which is about truth, we can use that for our advantage, you know, because especially on Twitter, because now I'm hearing the reports that Twitter there's the owner of Twitter and the people that promote Twitter are not of the right mindset, let's say. But if they're going to promote truth and the, you know, the information of, you know, being kind of spread, then let's go with that until we know otherwise. So yeah, the 4th to 6th of June, please pay attention, and the 21st of June, please also pay attention to that. As for the UK, I feel like it's the US's turn at the moment to take a lot of heat, because again we're into this election run up now, between now and November especially. Now I'm going to try and provide as much information as I can between now and then of what I'm getting and what the advice would be. Of course, always trust your gut instincts with everything that's being, even what I'm saying. Please trust your gut instinct. Please fact check everything. Believe nothing. Question everything. That is always the best way to do things. They're asking me to pull some cards, so let's end this with some card pulling, because obviously I've given the insight as what I needed to give. They want me to pull some cards, so let's see. What can you tell us, please, about the information that's previously been provided today? Yeah. Which way is it, guys? Right. There's a lot that's going to be going on in the shadows. We've got the 8 of Cups, okay, especially with news reporting. If you've got please go and look into the non-mainstream news channels. Research as much as you can. Go on DuckDuckGo, non kind of everything that isn't the traditional kind of research lines, please, because there's a lot going to be happening in the shadows, and if we can catch this on tape and then put it on social media, I think this is going to be the way to do it. Because you can't, I mean, obviously you get, you know, fakes and stuff like that and CGI stuff, but if we can get many people to back up and to be witnesses, you know, and I mean sticking together as well, not just one person doing it and then everyone sort of bottling it. I mean, you can do that if you want. You know, it's not like I'm not doing that, but I mean, to be honest with you, there's reasons I'm doing this anyway, but mainly because we need truth here. There has to be some balance. There's definitely things going on behind the shadows, but there's going to be a very strong reveal going on here. Things are going to be kind of, there's going to be some elements of truth that you're going to start seeing, observing through the media, and it's going to be very difficult to spot which is the reality and which isn't. Things are going to move at a very, very quick pace here with the Knight of Swords, so just be very aware. Yeah, look, between now and Cancerian season, guys, we have got a very quick moving situation going on here. We've got the Chariot with the Knight of Swords. I'll be honest with you, this is not the most serene of energy. This is very competitive, there's a very strong, painful energy behind this. This is air and then water, okay? So there has to be a vocalization of what is going on, because I'm just hearing about silence being unstuck, all right? So just be aware. If you can try and, as I say, remain very vigilant. Remain very vigilant. You don't again, this is not about promoting fear. Obviously, we're not here to promote fear. This is about awareness. Now, you might sit here and go, well, what's your answer? What's going to happen? What's the solution? First of all, I'm not God, and I'm not universal order or in charge of universal order. That's up to them. Is it up to us to question exactly what's going to happen? If it's not freely being given now, this is a lesson of trust at the moment. Now, this is a lesson of faith. Now, I'm not talking about religious faith. I'm talking about understanding that there is a unit. I keep seeing stuff out the corner of my eye in that freaking corner. This is driving me mad. This is driving me mad. I know they're doing it for a reason. I know they're trying to show me something. Hang on one sec. Yeah, this is universal order. But this is the masculine. There's a wounded masculine that's being cleansed here with this. So just remain vigilant. This is about keeping faith. Obviously be aware of the situation. Remain vigilant. But then try and take some time out to really decompress, because there's a lot of fear porn going on out there. And it's designed to lower vibration. We need to keep the vibration high so that we can discern through this illusionary energy, because some of it is deliberately designed to throw illusion your way, especially if you're becoming awakened and your intuition is very sharp. So be very discerning with the information. Okay, guys, so this has been your very quick snippet of information that I needed to give before the live on Monday, because I know if I didn't give this information now, it'll come up in the live and people will get upset, because I'm sure people don't want to have to listen to this on a live reading. So anyway, guys, have a wonderful day, week, month, wherever you are, and take good care. Thank you for your likes, shares and subscriptions. It means a lot to me, and please look after each other. Until next time, bye bye.